going on, guys? So in this video we're going to be talking about the decline of Throne and Liberty. Now, I don't really see too many problems with the game, but I do hear about things that people are complaining about, and I'm just going to give my feedback, my input, and what I would do that I think could positively impact the game. But before we get into that, make sure you guys drop a sub, leave a comment, leave a like. We are trying to get to 1,000 subs, and at 1,000 subs we are doing a 1K sub giveaway. So the quicker we get to that, the quicker we get to give back to you guys. So make sure you guys leave a sub, but let's jump straight into it. So before we get into anything, I just need a caveat that I personally play Throne and Liberty as a PvE player, but I do have a lot of experience when it comes to MMOs and PvP and just PvP in general. So I'm going to be giving my input on a few different things on how I would improve the game. Let's jump straight into PvP, because I don't really think there's too much to necessarily talk about in terms of myself, but things that I think would improve the game. Now, a lot of people, they really do not like the targeting in this game. Well, the targeting is really janky. It's really bad. This is something that they said they're working on, and hopefully it does improve. Now, as it goes for PvP, I have no interest in whatsoever, but I think there could be a few things done that would improve the interest. Now, as it goes for arena, there's a few things I would do. Number one, you can make the rewards for it a little bit better. A lot of people, they play this game for PvP strictly, and if you're not feeling rewarded for what you're doing, you're gonna leave and you're gonna go find a new game that you do feel rewarded for. So it doesn't need to be anything crazy. I did play New World PvP a decent amount. It doesn't need to be anything crazy. Maybe a little bit of Solent, maybe a few materials, all that good stuff. And you do have it tied in with your weekly missions, but you can give the weekly missions something better for reward. You can even do daily rewards, like you get X amount of wins daily. You get, I don't even know. You can do that though. Now, as it goes for large scale PvP, a lot of people, they have their eyes set on Stoneguard Castle. Now, as a New World player, I know exactly how it feels to not be able to win Stoneguard, and it sort of turns into this really bad system. Number one, usually the top guild will hold on to the castle and they won't give it up. Now, the other people below them, they want to feel some sort of like accomplishment. You do have the different pillage points that allow you to get some rewards for it. However, I don't think it's necessarily enough for that, or it could be better. You do have also the boon stones, which give you some rewards, but most people, they really care about like that number one spot, or I guess sort of feel like they're in a number one spot. Some way I could see going about this is maybe in every new zone release, you have a new quote unquote equivalent of Stoneguard Castle or something like that, and you're only allowed to control one at a time. So on my server, you have Oso controlling. The next one, well, technically the best one is Llama, but Oso is Llama's like buddy, and they just want to give Oso the castle. But you could have like another one somewhere up here, and then Llama controls that, and then when we eventually move upwards, you can have another one, and then another one. And it doesn't need to be anything crazy. Like obviously you can have one main one, like every time a new zone comes out, like over here, like you have basically the new capital. This one gets the most amount of Lucent as reward, sort of like the Vienta thing. You have the Vienta tax over here. It's not a lot of taxes, but it could basically be the same. And then you have the main one that holds like a ton. You have 247,000 Lucent. You can make it that way. Another thing that I think that should be added for PvP, and this is something that New World recently did, but I think would make a great addition to Throne and Liberty, is you could have a island or a little area sanctioned for only PvP. So say like we go over here, like this island, of course this is a starter island, but say something like this, and it's only PvP at all times. So let's use Ceradoma because we have Ceradoma, but like you have something like this, it's only PvP, and you have, it doesn't need to be crazy rewards. Like think of it as like you have Ceradoma with the chests at nighttime, but all the time, and you could have just constant PvP with rewards. And this will allow players to not only constantly PvP, but say if you don't even want to bother with PvE, you can, I guess, I don't know, use tokens on the chests. Like say you have the tokens up here, you have the dimensional contract 2s and the dimensional contract 1s. You use that like on an island like this, and you get rewards for it. It can be random and all that good stuff. Just throwing out ideas right now, but this would allow for players who want to PvP to literally just stick to PvP, and players who want to PvE just stick to PvE. Now, on the same vein of PvP players being allowed to basically PvP all the time, as it goes for PvE, this is a big problem that I want to talk about, and I think I'm going to make a completely separate video on it. More so it's going to be dailies, but I'm just going to brush over it. There's too much to do. Let me just put it this way. There's too much to do. Now, this is not a bad problem to have as a video game development team. Having too much to do is way better than having too little to do, but it is still a problem. Now, for me personally, dailies need to change. They've already said that they're working on it because it feels like a chore list. I'm not going to go too in depth on how I would change it because, again, I have a completely separate video for what I would do with that. But allowing players to basically choose what they want to do is a little hint, would be the best way to go about it. Because if we look at the co-op dungeons, I have no use for tier 1s, and I know a lot of people don't have use for tier 1s. I'm starting to basically have no use for tier 2s. So the fact that I need to run them, it's a bit of a yikes. Now you could say, oh, well, Toxic, you can hold on to your tokens, but then I'm missing out on rewards such as the lizard scale or the dues or all these different materials. And I can also turn these like pieces of gear into my material transformation, get stuff. But personally, I would rather spend my time somewhere else getting rewards that actually would help me rather than this, you know? So that's how I would go about it, at least for this stuff. Now, this one is going to be a very, 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 very hot topic. I've seen a lot of people talk about it when it comes to trials, but personally for me, I don't find the challenge of going past tier 1 worth it for the rewards. As you guys have seen, or if you guys go back to my build video that will be coming out before this one, I almost have all the right runes as it goes for my personal build, and basically all I would have to do is level them up. But I don't really have a need to get everything level 60 within a few days or a few weeks. And the main reasoning why is because the challenge as it goes for tier 5 and above is just too annoying to deal with, especially as someone who's playing it as a casual and doesn't have like a set group that tryhards and min-maxes and all that good stuff. I'm just playing the game to enjoy the game. Now, as it goes for people I've seen in the comments, they're like, well, you just learn the mechanics and you do it. Majority of players, well, maybe not so much anymore, but the majority of players don't have a group that can communicate, can be like, oh, we need to do this with this new mechanic, need to do that with that new mechanic. You basically are going in blind with a random group and hoping that people know what they're doing. This is the issue that I think a lot of people find even in tier 1s and tier 2 dungeons. I don't think it's necessarily on the players themselves, but like, I think I've seen a video recently where someone was talking about they should have something in the game that explains mechanics so that people who don't know them can understand it and all that good stuff. And I do agree with that. Like, if I was to jump into tier 5, the likelihood that I get a random group to do it successfully is pretty damn slim. So, and I have tried it just to say it's a rough experience for the random group. I've literally only been doing tier 1s, not to level up my runes, but specifically just to be able to get the weeklies done. It's a bit of a yikes. How would I change it? Well, again, I would probably have something in the game like a tooltip or something that explains the different mechanics. That's option 1. Option 2, and I saw this one, is you have all the way up to tier 30. I'm pretty sure I'm correct. Yeah, tier 30. By tier 5, you have all the hardest mechanics. The only thing difference between tier 5 and tier 30 is the increased health and the increased damage. But it sort of doesn't make any sense in terms of the progression of it. And I forget which video said it best, but basically from tier 1 to tier 5, and you can shuffle around the rewards a little bit, but Tier 1 to tier 5 should basically be the exact same mechanics wise. Maybe of course the damage and the health can be a little bit higher. Maybe the rewards are slightly nerfed. So say you right now you start getting blues at tier 5, you maybe, I don't know, maybe greens with the occasional blue at tier 5. Tier 3 is what, all greens or something? I don't know. I don't know how I would go about that. That's more up to them than me. But and then tier 10 would be the next phase that opens up, and then tier 15 to tier 30 could be the same, minus the fact of increased health and increased damage. I don't know. But either way, it is a nightmare. I think trials need to be changed. And finally, the last thing, the economy, or should I say the lack thereof. Now, of course, there's always going to be problems with an economy that is player driven. You're going to have people that are going to disrupt the markets. You're going to have people who are greedy as hell, a lot of different things. But this mainly goes towards my previous video about field boss loot and even arch boss loot. If we take a look at the auction house right now, a lot of the field boss loot is lowering down in price, as you can see. Not a problem. It allows people to get the loot that they need. Tier 2 is going to come out shortly. It's going to be crazy, all that good stuff. However, as it goes for arch boss loot, now this is absolutely ridiculous. When arch boss loot first came out, it literally cost $4,000 to buy an arch boss weapon. That is absolutely crazy. As I've said before, and I'll say it again, I don't care how you spend your money, but that doesn't change the fact that if you're buying something for $4,000 on a video game, it doesn't make you any less stupid. You can do it, you're just dumb. Either way, $4,000 for pixels on a video game, fucking ridiculous. They need to do something about this, either increase the supply of it, put a cap on it, something, I don't know. Don't get me wrong, this is somewhat coming from a biased sense. Like, I try to look out for the little guys. I want the little guys to be able to get good gear, you know, maybe not the best gear, but even still, $2,000 is right now for these are way out of reach for like 99.99% of people. They will never get their hands on one of these weapons. And by the time that these prices go down, these weapons are going to be irrelevant. Don't get me wrong. I understand Throne and Liberty, NCSoft, they need to make their money somehow. I understand that. $2,000 for one item, absolutely ridiculous. Something needs to change about it. And I guess the same thing could go for everything else. Like, if we look at a Dentist's greatsword right now, it is 8,000-ish. It used to be like 20,000. $300, I mean, I guess I can understand for most things. Like, that's all right. But in the thousands, it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. Like, it's like, I think it's the game Star Citizen or something where it's just mind. But I'm at a loss for words when it comes to this stuff. I really am. The economy, especially player-driven economies, really get in shambles really quickly. Don't get me wrong. Again, it does even out eventually, but when someone is like, hey, I would like that for my build. Oh, it costs $4,000. They're just like, okay, well, I'm not getting that. And then they get the next best thing. It's basically that saying the rich get richer kind of thing. It's not good, but it comes back to the whole thing of field boss contribution, which I'm going to talk about really briefly. Field boss contribution needs to change. It needs to change. If you have a group of the biggest tryhards going in, now that they know exactly how contribution works, you're never going to get a drop. And I'll tell you this right now, ever since I released that video and on my server, I've been getting recognition. I've been getting drops ever since I watched your video. I personally have yet to get a drop since getting that video. And that's specifically because all the top guilds on Throne and Liberty are now using that information, and I'm not going to say abusing because it's not abuse, but they're taking advantage of it, I guess, you know, not in a malicious way, you know, but it needs to change. Either it be RNG or some other sort of thing, because no free-to-play player, no person who can only play 2 hours, even if they're spending a ton of money, is ever going to get a field boss drop now that this information is released. And I sort of just want to hammer this home. Field boss contribution on face value is a very poor design, you know? I don't want to sound like a socialist right now, but there has to be some way that the big guilds and the big players get, I guess I could say, the majority of the drops. I'm okay with that happening because they work hard. I guess they put in the most investment into the game. Obviously, they want to feel rewarded. I'm not saying that they shouldn't. However, there's way more people playing the game than just the top guilds, and they would also like to feel rewarded. Now, they have done a few things to sort of even this out. If we take a look at the tier 2 dungeons, it allows you to get some of the field boss gear, not the weapons, but some of the field boss gear. And I think that's an absolutely incredible change. It really does help out. It's not a high drop chance to get these things. I think it's like 5% chance, but not really. Like I think I may have gotten, or I may get, out of every like 10 runs, I might get 1 or 2. Oh no, that is about 5%. Yeah. But either way, to get the right one is a little bit different. Like if I wanted to get the Shadow Harvester tunic, it's probably a lot less likely than 5%, but I'll get like a random one every 1 to 10. So it technically should be a little bit higher. I think it's, if you add up all of them together, it's like a 33% chance. So every 1 in 3 should get one. You don't really, but you know what I mean. Either way, there should be, maybe not initially, but there should be a way eventually to get the gear that you need. And again, I understand that it's gonna sort of stir up the market, you know, but there could be a way. Say you add it to like a co-op dungeon loot pool or something, a Dentist's Greatsword, but you make it, I don't know, let's see, like 0.5% chance to like 1% chance to drop. It allows more people to get it, allows more people to sell it, and in turn, it sort of reduces the price, but still holds some value. I don't know. That's just how I look at it. It's sort of similar to the whole field boss, like pity loot, I guess you could call it. Let me see if they have it on the thing. Let me see. They have the pity. Yeah, right here. So you have the mine, like we're going to use Mines Rock as a example. You have the Mines Rock pity chest, which is a 0.3% chance. Now honestly, this is way too low. I may see someone get one every like 2 or 3 days. It's kind of a little bit ridiculous, but allowing people to have sort of a better chance will in turn reduce the price of certain things. It's a way better system. And I think the more people that get involved with something, the more people have sort of their skin in the game, the more people that will enjoy it. So that's basically my take on it. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. I could be completely wrong. The majority of people don't want it that way, but personally, I try to look out for the casual player more so than the try hard. Well, that's just gonna about do it for this video. I know I rattled off about a lot of things, but let me know in the comments if you guys agree, if you guys have different opinions on how you guys would handle the certain aspects in this game. Again, I have a specific video for, I guess you would call it dailies in PvE, that I would change around that would also not only help but affect PvP players and allow them to enjoy the game a little bit more rather than constantly running dungeons every day. There's a lot that could be done, but I will say this. I personally still enjoy the game. I don't think that it's something like all these problems are worth quitting over. This is not also shade thrown at anybody, but I believe that Throne and Liberty is a very well thought out, very well polished game. Every game is going to have its quirks to it. I say it a lot, but Skyrim is probably top 5 video games if you're a gamer basically of all time, maybe top 10 depending on who you ask and their preference. And that game is filled with bugs left and right, and yet people still enjoy it. So there's always going to be bugs in video games. It just is what it is. There's always going to be jankiness to video games. You just got to enjoy what we have. But other than that, that is all I have for you guys. So remember, we are doing that 1K sub giveaway. So make sure you guys drop a sub, leave a comment, leave a like. It is absolutely free and it helps out the channel so much. And we are trying to get to 1K so we can give back to you guys. But other than that, that is all I have for you guys. So I hope each and every one of you guys has a wonderful day. And as always, take care. And I'll talk to you guys later.